So simple tutorial. Good morning students. Welcome to SST So simple tutorial. In the previous class we had read about NAM and the idea of NIEO. Today we are going to read India and the Cold War. Here India means India not simply as any country but as a member of NAM, as a leader of NAM during the Cold War. So here India's action will be tested from the lens of NAM. India, dear students, played an important role during the Cold War. As a leader of the movement, India not only kept herself away from the power politics of the two blocs but also maintained equidistant from both the sides. This implies that India chose to be neutral, and this policy also enabled India to run an independent foreign policy. Secondly, India raised her voice against any newly decolonized countries that wished to become part of any power bloc. India wanted them to remain non-aligned. So India behaved in the same manner as was expected from the newly independent countries. But this act of India's policy should not be seen as negative or passive. Dear students, Nehruji had himself said that non-alignment was not a policy of fleeing away. Fleeing away means running away. India was simply keeping away from power politics of the two blocs, but she was playing an active role by intervening in the world affairs to dilute the rivalries of the Cold War. India was not on the offensive side, India was on the peacemaking side. India demonstrated her non-aligned position during the Korean War. India was actively involved in negotiating peace in the Korean Peninsula. In the Korean War, India was the chairman of the Neutral Nations Repatriation Commission. I ask you a question. When was the first summit of NAM held? In 1961? When was the Bandung Conference held? In 1955? What was the time of this Korean War? Early 1950s. What does that mean? That means India was actively participating in world affairs even before NAM was born. India had also played the role of peacemaker in the war in Indochina. So India's policy cannot be called a fleeing away sort of policy or passive or negative. Understood? India also mobilized other non-aligned countries to further the cause of peace and stability, which was the goal of NAM countries. India tried to activate international organizations like UN and regional organizations to play a proactive role in de-escalating tensions between the two superpowers. Non-aligned was not, as some suggest, a noble international cause which had little to do with India's interests. The position of non-alignment actually served India's interests directly in at least two ways. First, non-aligned allowed India to take international decisions and stances that served its interests rather than the interests of the superpowers and their allies. For a moment, just think what India would be doing if she had joined any of the alliances. India would just be serving the interest of that superpower. But India stayed politically neutral and took whatever benefits she could from both USSA and USSR. During the 1960s, USA had advanced loan to us and fulfilled our food grain needs. And when India decided to set up large steel plants, it was the Soviet Union which not only provided financial help but also gave us machines. Our Bhilai and Bokaro steel plants are the result of this help only. Understood? Okay. Secondly, India was often able to balance one superpower against the other. It did not invite threat from either bloc. Neither alliance system could take India for granted or bully it. If India felt ignored or unduly pressurized by one superpower, it could tilt towards the other. Okay, let us now discuss some criticisms. Dear student, India's policy of non-alignment has also been criticized on some issues. We will consider here two only. First, India's non-alignment was said to be unprincipled. In the name of pursuing its national interest, India, it is said, often refused to take a firm stand on crucial international issues. For example, in the case of Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, India is being accused that she neither condemned nor supported Soviet Union. So you decide whether this criticism is correct or incorrect. The next criticism that India faces is that India was inconsistent and took contradictory postures. India criticized others for joining alliances but signed the Treaty of Friendship with the USSR in August 1975 for 20 years. Was this treaty not a departure from India's non-alignment policy? That is why signing this treaty was regarded by outside observers as virtually joining the Soviet camp. But here, students, as a student of political science, you must understand there is something called idealism and something called realism. You will read these theories in higher classes. Idealism emphasizes that international relations should be guided by morality, whereas realism is grounded on power politics and national interest. See, Pakistan had already joined SEATO and CENTO and was getting military and economic aid from the US. So during the Bangladesh crisis or say 1971 war, US was bound to help Pakistan against India. In such a situation, the government of India had no options. India needed diplomatic and military help and hence this treaty. This is realism. You have to see your national interest first. You also think what you have done in this situation. My dear students, it is said that in international relations there are no permanent friends, no permanent enemies, only permanent interests. The world of geopolitics does not run on emotions, rather on the interest of nations. Remember this. USA and other countries were against us few years back. Now same countries trade with us. Not because suddenly we became their brother, but because mutual needs have changed. Just see in the present context of Ukraine-Russian war, when the world, including USA, is placing sanctions against Russia, yet we are purchasing oil from Russia. This is not because the relationship between Russia and India is higher than the Himalayas and deeper than the Mariana Trench, but because our needs compel us to purchase oils from Russia. Understood? Okay. Let us now discuss a small topic, the relevance of NAM, and finish the chapter. Dear students, by now you know that the Cold War was the outcome of the emergence of two superpowers, the USA and the USSR, rival to each other. Thereafter, NAM came into existence. In 1991, USSR disintegrated and the Cold War came to an end. There is no rivalry now. The world is not divided now. The world has become unipolar. So what is the need of NAM after the end of bipolar world? The relevance of NAM is being questioned today. Students, here it will be incorrect to say that NAM is no more relevant. It is relevant even today. See, Cold War has come to an end, but not the problems. NAM was basically a group of developing countries, mostly former colonies. They had their problems. Those problems still exist today. They are still striving to overcome their poverty and backwardness. This demands for a more equitable order. Equitable means fair and partial. Also, NAM, if you see as a concept, can never be irrelevant because principally it provides a strong base to the foreign policy of its members. It means that the poor countries need not become followers of any big power. They can pursue an independent foreign policy. Then issues like disarmament, human rights and environmental protection are as much relevant today as used to be earlier. Even some more new issues have come up, like terrorism, global warming, climate change, trafficking of drugs and weapons, etc. They need to be addressed. Although colonialism and racism have ended, neo-colonialism continues to prevail. Countering this phenomenon demands greater cooperation among the non-aligned countries. Thus, NAM, which has served the useful purpose of protecting and preserving the interest of the Third World well in the past, is also expected to serve their interest well in the future to come. The need of the hour is an effort by all member states to reaffirm their faith in the movement and build a strong bond among its member states. They can become a powerful force only when they come together and make this platform powerful. This is how they can strengthen the bargaining capacity of NAM. With this, dear students, we come to the end of lesson 1, Cold War Era. I hope you have understood this topic well. If you find this video useful, please subscribe to it and share with your friends. In the next class, we will meet with a new chapter, new topic. Till then, keep reading and have a nice time. Thank you.